Hello everyone, and welcome to the second video programming about archiving theater. My name is Eric Kaleri, and I'm currently co-chair of the American Theater Archive Project and the curator of theater and performing arts at the Harry Ransom Center. The American Theater Archive Project, or ATAP, is a national network of archivists, dramaturgs, and scholars dedicated to preserving the legacy of the American theater. We're volunteers, but the organization's operating expenses are funded through the generosity of the members of the American Society for Theater Research and other donors. This video is part of a series we're creating on different topics in theater archiving and is based on ATAP's archiving manual, which you can find free with a bunch of other resources on our website at americantheaterarchiveproject.org. In the last video, we talked about why you should be thinking about organizing your stuff and the ways people make use of these theater archives. But in this video, we're looking at the first practical steps you can take to establish your archive. Odds are, whether you're part of a company or you're an individual artist, you've already been collecting records, contracts, scripts, reviews, programs, that sort of thing. But one of the first things to understand is that an archive doesn't mean you need to save everything. Archiving starts when you make the choice to set certain materials aside to be saved for posterity. Only a fraction of all the records that your company generates in the process of producing theater will ultimately find their way into the archives. All archives are records, but not all records are archives. Archives, you could define, are non-current records deemed to be of permanent historical value. So these are records that will no longer be needed in the course of day-to-day company activities, but collectively will document you or your theater's history. Just as each theater company is unique, its archives are equally distinctive, and there's no uniform way to go about establishing your archives. So the advice that we're offering really can be adapted to meet your own individual needs, whatever works for you. So how do you get started? First, you should take a look at what you already have by conducting what we call a preliminary assessment. And this involves taking a look at your history, your activities, your programs, your practices, your needs, your future goals, and having a sense of how you or your staff see an archive being used. As we discussed in the last video, out of this discussion, you'll want to create an archive's mission statement that will help direct the work and the selection of your archive. Once you've done this, take a look around and see what materials are currently kept and how they're housed. Take a look at all the different places you're keeping records. Are they in different offices, in different buildings, in people's homes? Do they seem safe where they're at? Are any boxes being kept under water pipes or in rooms that could flood, or photographs or films being kept in rooms that get really hot? Do you have files on computers that are really old? If you or your company works frequently with contract employees, also think about what records they may have created. Were those transferred to you at the end of the job or at the end of the season? Just keeping track of the kinds of documents that you're finding, because there's so many different kinds. For an example, a theater company could include, they're creating records for administrative purposes, like human resources files or licenses or permits, credit card receipts, banking records, employee directories, invoices, petty cash vouchers, safety records, purchase orders. You may be keeping the manuals to equipment that you've purchased, or you are keeping applications for grants that you apply to, or staff meetings and reports, or board member meetings and reports. There's contracts, there's photo documentation of the work that you're doing, video documentation, capital campaigns, galas, trademarks, house reports, concession reports, marketing brochures, all of this stuff. And that's just administrative files. And if you think of like the creative and artistic work, like script drafts or orchestrations, or cast breakdowns, audition information, design materials, costume sketches, set designs, fabric swatches, photographs of props, research materials, stage production, Bibles, contact sheets, calendars, all of these things. Really think broadly about the kinds of records that your theater company is creating and where those are being kept right now. Who's looking out for these? And then after you're looking at what you've already been keeping, also take a look back at that archive mission statement that you've created and ask yourself what documents aren't being captured that will help you tell the story of your company. What's missing? And in the future, how might you capture some of these materials, perhaps by reaching out to former staff members or volunteers, or maybe you're conducting oral history interviews. It can often be helpful to have someone outside the company or your practice conduct this preliminary assessment, particularly a trained archivist who will have an eye toward recognizing where materials are kept or what conditions are ideal for storing different kinds of material. This is especially helpful if your company's been around for a long time or if you've just collected a lot of material over the years. If you need help finding a professional archivist, contact us at the American Theater Archive Project, and we can connect you with the nearest ATAP regional theater team. At the end of the preliminary assessment, you should have a pretty good sense of what you have, where it's at, how you use it, and who creates different kinds of records in your company. You can use this document to plan out possible new storage needs or develop a plan for financial support for records maintenance that might be built into your existing company budget or even apply for grants. This preliminary assessment will be especially important for the next step, which is to develop and put in place a records retention schedule that will get your entire staff on the same page and make sure that you're keeping what you want to keep and you're not keeping the stuff that maybe you don't want to be keeping. It really helps to shape the archive. But retention schedules are the topic for the next video in the series, so stay tuned for that. I urge you to visit our website, AmericanTheaterArchiveProject.org, and take a look at our archiving manual, Preserving Theatrical Legacy. Preliminary assessments are covered in Chapter 3, and we also offer a handy questionnaire for approaching your preliminary assessment in Appendix B, and a sample of preliminary assessment report in Appendix C. So those appendices, do look at those because they offer a really good how-to guide for how to approach a preliminary assessment. And they're really, really useful. If you want to work ahead, retention schedules are covered in Chapter 4, so just take a peek if you don't want to wait for the next video. So hopefully in this video, you've gotten a sense of the first steps in approaching your archive. You'll know what questions to ask your staff and what to look for to assess what records you're already collecting. You may also have a sense of what's not being captured that you want to save and how you might collect that in the future. And you'll also hopefully realize that you're not alone in this and that ATAP and archivists are available to help you. So stay tuned for the next video in this series on retention schedules, where we talk about what records you should think about keeping and what you might not want to save. And many thanks to the American Society for Theater Research and the literary managers and dramaturgs of the Americas for their financial support of ATAP and making programs and resources like this possible. And thanks to you for tuning in. So until next time, thanks.